Hey yo, what's up, homie?
Tests are the most common form of indicator to indicate a person's level of intelligence. Tests provide an overall description of a person's understanding on tested material and is commonly used by schools across the United States. Standardized tests are widely accepted as valid indicators of determining a person's level of intelligence. But is that really the case? The history of standardized testing started with the United States Army. The United States Army administered various standardized tests to determine if certain individuals were ready to tackle specific jobs and roles. This system to determine readiness was adopted by the school system. Tests made during this time period only reflected the academic achievement of a very narrow skill set. Small-scale use of standardized testing was used in education to provide information on a person's academic progress. This, however, wouldn't last long. Test purposes were ultimately changed by the No Child Left Behind law in 2002.
It's time to come together to get it done so that we can truthfully say in America, no child will be left behind. Schools do not teach and will not change. Parents and students must have other meaningful options.
The No Child Left Behind Act requires all public schools receiving federal funding to administer a statewide standardized test annually to all students. Additional funding would be provided to schools that received high testing scores on standardized tests, while low-scoring schools would lose funding. The effect of this act led to the era of high-stakes testing, in which it puts pressure on students to perform well. While this can be a good thing, multiple studies show that pressure can lead to stress. What makes stress a prime indicator that standardized tests do not provide a person's level of intelligence? Stress not only affects the performance of the student academically, but also physically. Widespread reports show that students get physically sick more than ever over standardized tests. It prompted many parents to exercise the option of refusing to let their children take tests.
Well, today a group of high school students got up and walked out of class in protest of standardized testing. The Baltimore Algebra Project, a youth-led education advocacy group, organized a rally against the park test today in front of the city schools headquarters.
Right now, numbers are beginning to trickle in now, and they show that thousands of students here in Western New York today are opting out of the first round of the state standardized testing that's been put into effect.
Psychologists are aware of the high stakes associated with standardized testing. Teachers spend inordinate amounts of class time preparing for them, and they know that doing poorly could ultimately cause them to lose their job. This not only puts stress on the students to achieve high scores, but also the teachers who need qualifying scores to keep their position. We all know that standardized tests are implemented to make sure kids understand the topics they have learned. However, the effects of stress and test anxiety hinder the overall accuracy of these tests.
In my opinion, I do better at project-based tests and major evaluations because high-stake tests don't bode well for my stress levels, and then I end up failing the class anyways. I thought I understood all of the material. It was very easy when I was studying, and I was able to recall it perfectly at home. I just got stressed because I knew if I didn't do well on this test, I would start failing the whole class. And so my mind just started racing and I wasn't able to complete the test at all.
Oh, is polar the circle graph?
Yeah, dude, it's so hard.
Standardized testing has become a norm in today's society. Almost every school system in the world utilizes standardized testing to provide input if students are improving or not. It has even gone so far that preparation to take standardized tests has infested the elementary schools. While many believe the importance in preparing students for test readiness, a peaceful country named Finland believes otherwise. What makes the Finland education system considered the best in the world? Finnish children don't start formal education until they're 7. They do virtually no homework or exams until they're well into their teens. And they're not tested at all for their first 6 years in school. This lack of competition and academic pressure allows children to flourish, teaching them how to learn rather than how to pass exams. The only mandatory test Finnish children take is at age 16 and at the end of their time in secondary school. This superb learning environment clearly works. 66% of students go on to college, which is the highest rate in Europe. China education system is world-renowned in having a very rigorous and stressful method of teaching students. However, the country is famous for producing some of the smartest students in the world. Chinese children typically spend around 15 hours a week working, learning, or studying out of school. The intensity in school workload has produced one of the highest scoring education systems. However, this intensity has led to large amounts of stress built up in Chinese students.
Korean government statistics show that the stress and pressure to pass the exams have made suicide the leading cause of death among 15 to 24-year-olds.
A report that China Daily published on May 14, 2016 shows that the national examination was the cause of 79 suicides by elementary and high school students last year. 93 of these suicides happened after arguments with teachers or were attributed to the students' intense pressure to study. Another study was published by the 21st Century Education Research Institute, in which researchers closely examined 79 elementary and middle school suicide cases from 2013 and found that almost all occurred after a teen had endured stress associated with school. An uncertainty for the future exists for most young students in China. Even after they have received additional education, they are still in a lost state. Students in China are trained to be exam machines instead of knowing what they're good at and applying it to a career field.
The importance of test, again, is a question of which test. But I would say when it comes to, which is more important as far as preparing students, not I would say as making students intelligent, but as far as their acquiring confidence, I think they play an equal role, but I think an even more significant role is played by the mindset of the student. And behind that, of course, is the influence of parents, too.
The role of the teacher can be a large factor that plays into the student's ability to take a test. While a teacher may not be able to get rid of tests altogether, the teacher can give certain traits to help the students learn and tackle the standardized test. This does not mean that they should teach to the test, but rather that they should teach concepts on the test and fun and creative ways. Because tests are so widespread throughout the education system, certain actions must be made in order to decrease levels of stress and anxiety that prevent a student from demonstrating their full potential. Many things around the classroom can be improved to help reduce the anxiety of standardized testing.
I think a lot of what a teacher does is both the teacher is a genuine love for the subject and true understanding of the subject, and should be something that goes far deeper than what needs to be taught to students. The teacher, I think, should be like a well. Students should have that sense that there's a really deep well that they can draw from. But even if there's certain ideas that never come into the classroom, they inform. They still are there in the background of what you're teaching. They inform.
A way to allow students to learn and take standardized tests is to practice stress-relieving exercises. Not only should students practice these exercises, but also the teachers. Stressed out teachers are accused to teach to the test, which robs the students' creativity and joy of learning. Stress-relieving exercises would allow teachers and students to remain calm and also help teachers teach in more creative and interactive ways. Another way to manage stress is through always thinking on a positive note. Positivity will encourage students to put in their best effort during a stressful test while helping the students relieve the pressure of doing well. This will not only influence the students in the classroom, but out of the classroom as well. A positive attitude brings along healthy habits such as getting a good night's sleep and eating breakfast. Some K-12 schools are challenging the trend of standardized tests with greater commitment to learning by experience. STREAM, an acronym for science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics, is a project-based program providing students with opportunities to connect content with authentic experiences at the middle school level. Using mixed methods, researchers investigated the program and discovered students in the experimental program perceived school as more enjoyable. Learning to collaborate was a key factor leading to positive experiences for students. Students showed evidence of non-cognitive skill growth, and students in the experimental program progressed appropriately on standardized tests and did not differ significantly from their counterparts in traditional classes. A wide range of sources validate the usage of standardized tests as an inaccurate indicator of determining a person's level of intelligence. The utilization of standardized tests to provide educational funding towards schools has led the education system to teach kids to learn how to take tests and not actually how to acquire any real-life skills. While testing can determine if a student understands material, it does not adequately indicate any sense that they are learning. The incentive for schools to provide exceptional test scores has forced teachers to teach kids how to resuscitate information rather than learn. This, however, does not mean we can't change. Excellent examples such as the Finnish education system show the benefits of excluding standardized tests from early stages of school. By providing safe learning environments where competition and stress are virtually depleted. These reforms will not only benefit the quality of education received, but also help reduce stress and anxiety among students, which will ultimately provide a greater validity to standardized tests.